The story starts with an upset girl whose toy was torn up. The maiden didn't bother to fix it, so she asks the little girl if she can throw it away. The little girl stops crying and agrees to her decision. People alike in this place couldn't care less, as something of less value were treated like trash easily. The same goes for the humans. In the dump site, a guard walks by and suddenly heard a noise from one of the doors. He takes a peek and sees a person collecting garbage for himself. The guard barged in and ordered him to stop. The person turned around and the guard quickly noticed that this man was known as the trash vandal and that he has been moving the trash outside in many different places. The guard says he won't let him escape, so he pushes the button and alerts the other guards. In a defensive act, the trash vandal threw garbage bags at them and rushes through the vents to escape. With swift movements, he was able to dodge the bullets and got outside the dump site. As they were chasing him, one of the guards grazed him on his arm, but it didn't stop him from jumping over the wall, allowing him to escape. After the incident last night, in a large city, rumors spread about the trash vandal going in the dump site collecting garbage. The man walked by the two girls and overheard their conversation. The two girls went on and judged the clothing of the man for how messy they look in hopes that they won't come back again. The entire luxurious city and the slum were divided by a huge wall, creating a border between them. The person from last night was sitting in a corner and was approached by a little girl named Chiwa. She reveals that the trash vandal's name is Ruto and asks him if he went to collect trash again. She goes on to say that the town residents were strict of their waste control and asks why he would put himself in danger for it. Ruto says that the rich throws a lot of garbage that can still be salvaged and that he wants to make a living off of it. In the far corner, 3 kids walked up to them and one of them asked Chiwa why she was near Ruto despite the smell. He continues to mock Ruto of his gloves, saying that they're old and ragged, that it could make anyone itch, after revealing that Ruto was a son of a murderer. The kid explained that the slum was once a place for exiled criminals, which means their descendants were all trying to clear their names by avoiding crimes. But since Ruto's parents were murderers, they ruined their chances of becoming innocent. After hearing all this, he was enraged and gave them a devilish look, causing the 3 kids to run away while saying he'll become a murderer someday. Ruto got upset. Chiwa cheered him up, saying he's not a bad guy like his parents were. She sees a doll next to him and asks if he made it. Ruto says that it was for her and wants to give it to her. But before he can hand it over, Chiwa's mother arrived and told her to come home. After saying her goodbyes, Ruto went home as well. A man was waiting for him inside and overheard their conversation. Ruto was surprised and asks if he saw them. But aside from that, Regto wanted to talk about what happened last night. Moments later into their conversation, Regto asks of him to lay down and leave the job to him instead. But Ruto insisted that he wasn't involved in any danger at all. The man denies it's so and says that even if they're not blood related, they are still family, and he doesn't need to worry at all. Ruto reveals that he was raised by Regto ever since he was abandoned as a child and says he was only doing it for the family. After hearing all that, Regto insists that he should consider his feelings for Chiwa, and was quickly reminded of the pain from his wound last night. He notices this and wanted to take a look so he can patch it up. As Regto covers up his wound, he tells him to stop coming to the dump site before he gets himself in trouble again. He adds that if he commits any serious offense, he'll be executed and will be cast into the abyss. Ever since Ruto was a child, his hands have always been pitch black and were in pain, which got him all worn out in his mind. That's when Regto gave him the gloves, causing the pain to fade away as soon as he wore them. Regto then jokingly asks him that he should hit on Chiwa before it's too late. After their conversation, a mysterious figure was passing by their house with a menacing stare. The next day, Ruto was practicing his smile before he goes to Chiwa's place and give her the toy. After arriving, he peers into the abyss beyond the slum and explains that they dump their trash here, including criminals, even his own father. While pondering, Chiwa appears beside him and greets him. She explains why the slum was built near the abyss is because they wanted to show them the consequences of committing a crime and that she didn't want to see Ruto fall into it as well. Ruto says that Regto told him the same thing. She adds that he cares for him too and why he worries so much. Ruto stops and notices something about what she said. Chiwa blushes, causing him to weird as well. She noticed the toy he was holding. Ruto says that she seemed interested, so he wanted to give it to her. Chiwa was happy with the gift. After that, Ruto rushes back home in crazy excitement and wants to tell Recto about what happened, but as he turns over the corner, he was bumped by the mysterious man. Luckily there was no conflict between them and the two went along their separate ways. Ruto finally got back home and was finally about to tell him, but was in a state of shock after seeing that Recto was laying on the ground with a blade through his chest. Ruto fell to his knees and cries out to him. In his last breath, Recto tells him to run away and that he has to change this world for the better. But a man shot him from behind with an electric bullet, knocking him down. Then they grabbed him and accused Ruto for murder. He got confused and says they're mistaken, but the officers didn't accept his words and that the blood all over him proves him otherwise. Ruto still persists but was knocked out with a punch. A few moments later, a rumor has spread again about Ruto becoming a murderer. The officers dragged and hung him up above the abyss and sentencing him to death. Ruto was hoping that Chiwa would see him as innocent. He finds her in the middle of the crowd and begs for her to find who the culprit was. With a look of distrust, she turns her head away and says that he was a murderer until the end, as the crowd shouts for Ruto's doom. He laughs in anger, saying that the people beyond him are all trash and that they deny the truth so easily. And in the pile of residents, Ruto saw the man from earlier and pledged to himself that he'll send every last one of them to hell. After plunging into the abyss, he wakes up in a pile of garbage and wonders where he is. He looks around him but only sees piles and piles of trash. After realizing his situation, a humongous beast made up of huge clumps of trash walks up to Ruto. But knowing all too well that only trash of various kinds and human remains were thrown down the dump site, there was something else dwelling among these wasted lands. Looking back into the past, Ruto was behind the crowd watching as the criminal was dropped into the abyss. The people in front of him asks why the tribe's people commit such a crime even if they knew they'll be dropped. Ruto thought to himself why the residents were so concerned about it, and that they can't even consider what will happen if they fell into the abyss themselves. After the flashback, Ruto was running as fast as he could to escape the garbage beasts. After dodging a few of its attacks, he tumbles a skull with his hands, and after taking a cold hard look, he curses upon the people who dropped him in this place. He then slips off the edge and crashes further down into the ground. He's now put himself in a more dangerous situation, saying if he keeps breathing this polluted air, his lungs aren't gonna last much longer, as he wonders if there's any safe place for him to escape. He vomits out blood, causing the beast to discover him and chase him down again. After feeling incapable to do anything, the deceased Recto appeared before his eyes. Ruto snaps and quickly lifts himself up, then promises that whoever killed Recto will be beaten up to death. As he proceeds to dash towards his enemy, a man from the distance was watching their fight. As the two individuals continue their fight, Ruto throws a pipe and was only able to pierce it. The beast knocks him away. He quickly gets up and picks up a large cloth of metal. Ruto uses it to slice it across the beast, causing it to fall apart. It quickly rained with debris, but Ruto couldn't move. A man swoops in and shields Ruto with an umbrella. He wonders who the guy was. He picks him up and kicks him from behind. Ruto coughs up blood, so the man puts a mask on him. Ruto asked about this place and what those monsters were. The umbrella guy pauses for a moment and tells him to shut up. Ruto persists and kept asking on and on if they're underground. The man finally yelled at him, saying that this place isn't underground and that their trash is what made this place, and tells him to shut up. The beast behind them got up because of the noise they made. The umbrella man tells him that they're aberrant beasts that are made up of heaps of trash and normal weapons is not effective against it. He adds that they don't usually respond to human sounds, that's why he was quiet and kept a low profile to avoid getting detected. The man blamed Ruto for making him shout. He activates his umbrella, causing it to emitting a powerful energy. He then folds it open and points it at the charging beast. He begins to spin it incredibly fast and breaks apart the beast to pieces. The umbrella man continues to destroy each and every aberrance with absolute destruction as Ruto just watches him from the near distance. He unleashes his special move to finish off the last of the beast. Ruto saw through his capabilities and thought to himself, if he can have the power of its technology, he could also use it to destroy the people from above. The man walks back to Ruto and asks if he's still alive. He didn't respond and asks who he was. The man took off his helmet and tells him that his name is Engine, the average janitor. He immediately puts his helmet back up due to the contaminated air around them. Ruto gets a flashback where he had a conversation with Regto. He looks bruised and battered, which made his guardian worry about him. Regto assumed that it's the other kids making fun of him again. Ruto said he just fell. He told the other kids that objects are alive. This made them ridicule him. Regto asked if he hit them back. Ruto responded by shaking his head. He also said that Regto told him before that if you cherish something long enough, a soul will stay on it, and he stayed true to that thinking. Regto asked if that is the reason he told the other kids that things are alive. He clarifies that it is just an old saying that means a person has to treasure what he has, but in a sense Regto believes in it, saying that the pen he is holding could have a soul, or the towel since it keeps Ruto clean. The kids started pointing at the furnitures asking if they have a soul too. Regto find this kind of thinking amusing and gave Ruto a pair of gloves, saying that he should cherish these two because they might get a soul in them too. Ruto slowly gains consciousness and found himself bounded by chains while being dragged. He struggles against the chains, letting his captor know he is awake. Ruto remembered this guy as the person from earlier who dropped in front of him. The captor introduced himself as Engine and that he considered himself as his savior, and Ruto is being ungrateful. He responded by complaining what kind of savior chains the person he is saving. Engine reasoned out that he passed out, that why he helped him to move by dragging him on the ground. Ruto demands to be freed because he needs to go back up right now. Engine said that it is impossible since the place above is what they call heaven. While asking Ruto how is he planning to reach the skies, especially because the heaven is moving. There are more other reasons, but to make it simple, it is impossible, and if Ruto understands that he should just stay quiet, he then remembers what happened, pissing him off, increasing his eagerness to go back. He thought that since Engine said it is impossible to go back to heaven, he knows a way how to get there. He also wants to know about the place he is stuck with, the things he met, and the power Engine has. Ruto wants to learn about all of it to use against the people who wronged him in the heaven, and that he is not going to stay quiet unless he hears what he wants. Engine drops his helmet, telling Ruto that he is going to show him what this world is like, before throwing him near what seems to be trucks of what looks like illegal smugglers. They checked on Ruto if he is one of the sky people. He does not understand the question, while the other smugglers need some clarifications first. Ruto admits he came from the heavens, which brought joy to the group. They are ecstatic to find sky people alive, claiming this has to be a miracle. Ruto is confused about what is happening while the group is still trying to know if the language of the sky people is the same as them. They rechecked if he is alive, adding that being restrained by the chains must have been a pain, so they'll free him right away. He thought that they are better people than Engine, but they still tied him inside their truck, saying that there is another sky person who escaped. Ruto struggled with his all might. It turns out they are indeed smugglers, and they will sell Ruto for a high price because he is one of the sky people, and that a lot of people would want a literal piece of him. The smugglers are extremely grateful that they caught a sky person alive and that they are going to make enough money to live comfortably after selling Ruto. The smugglers explain that the people there want the sky people because they exceedingly hate them. They have been throwing their garbage from the sky to the ground. The garbage kept piling up that slowly poisoned the air and resulting to monsters being born. There are plenty of reason why they hate the sky people, and if someone gets their hand on one, it's going to be a very unpleasant experience for the sky person. It could be torture or dissection, just to name a few. They noticed that Ruto is quite thin, so they force-fed him with very unsanitary food. They made fun of Ruto, asking him if the scraps of food is not to his liking. The smugglers expressed their hate by force-feeding him things that is unfit for consumption. Ruto bit the finger of what seems to be the smugglers' leader while force-feeding him. He screamed after losing his finger. Ruto then finishes up the scraps of food the smugglers provide with such vigor, saying that it is not trash if it is still edible to him. Ruto had enough of these people. All of them from the heaven and the earth, the trash and tribes people. They should not sort these people out if they wanted to, and that they should stop staying silent, doing whatever they want. He announced to the smugglers. He is not going to hold back anymore. The smugglers got confused about what the Ruto can do, while Engine, watching from afar, is surprised about the abilities of the kid, saying that he is right about him. Ruto reminisced the words of Regto, where if he cherished an object, someday it will have a soul and its strength. That is when Ruto transformed the broken chain that used to bind him into a spiked weaponized version. The smuggler got surprised that there is one of those kind of people in the heaven too, the power who brings life to objects and then wield them. It is the one they call a giver. The leader of the smugglers shouted that it does not matter if he is a giver or what. He ordered his goons to kill Ruto. They all charged at him, but he swung the spike chain at them. They staggered at the damage it could have dealt. One of the goons said that they should aim for the chain, since if he does not have any object that can be used as a weapon, he will not be able to use his powers. They hit the chain. Ruto lost his weapon, but he sets his eyes on the nearest object, a wheel. He lifts it and transformed it into a spiked wheel. All of them got surprised because he can use more than one weapon. Ruto smashed the goons, then turns his attention to the leader. The smuggler leader cursed at him as he walked near him. Ruto aimed for the leader's head with the weaponized wheel, but Engine interrupted him. Ruto gained his sanity back, dropping the wheel and everything that was floating around him. Ruto got confused, asking Engine how was he able to do these things. As he questions himself, his nose bled. Engine explained that his body cannot withstand the power he just used. Ruto thought to himself that his powers activated as soon as he thought of what Recto told him. Engine admitted that it is his fault that this happened, and that he is just trying to measure Ruto's abilities. Engine offered Ruto to tell him everything about this world and the power he is wielding, but in exchange, he has to work as a janitor with Engine, because the ability of Ruto is exactly what they require. Ruto wanted to decline.
Thanks for staying in tune with our manga recap. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more updates from our content.